He said, "You're late, young man." And I thought, oh no, my career is over before it even starts. I told him, "I'm sorry, sir. I stopped to help someone on the highway." For years, Clint Walker looked like the perfect cowboy hero from the show Cheyenne. But now, his daughter Valerie has finally talked about what really went on at home when no one was watching. She's telling the truth about his drinking problem, the times he blacked out, and the nights he just vanished for days. There were trips to the hospital that nobody ever heard about, super close calls that almost killed him. Valerie grew up scared, never knowing if her dad would make it home safe. What she's saying now explains why Hollywood worked so hard to hide all this. He was born Norman Eugene Walker on May 30th, 1927, in Hartford, Illinois. His mom, Gladys, came from Czech Republic and left her husband only 8 months after getting married. She had twin babies, Clint and his sister Lucy, in a little town that was already hurting bad from the Great Depression. The family was broken, so everything felt harder. Gladys kept moving around just to find any job. Clint learned super young that life doesn't wait for kids to grow up. He was proud of his Cherokee background, but that didn't put food on the table. By the time he was 10, he quit school and started working anywhere he could get a job. He worked in noisy, oily factories and did tough jobs on boats on the Mississippi River. He was super tall and building muscle fast. By 16, he had already been a factory worker, a boat guy, a carnival helper, and even carried golf bags as a caddy. His big muscles came from real hard work, not some fancy gym. He was 6'6" by the time he started shaving. When he was 17, near the end of World War II in late 1944, he joined the United States Merchant Marine. The war was still going strong. German submarines were Huntons, G-ships in the Atlantic. But Clint signed up anyway. He didn't fight on the front lines, but he sailed through dangerous areas full of enemies and huge storms, saw the war end in 1945, and came home knowing himself better. It didn't make life easier, it just made him tougher. After getting out in 1946, he moved to Brownwood, Texas, and took a really rough job welding airplane parts in a hot factory. The heat burned his skin, and the days never ended. But he kept pushing. The pay was tiny, just a few cents, but he saved every bit he could. His hands were full of scars from flying sparks. He never complained. He just showed up and worked. In 1947, he went west to Long Beach, California, looking for something better. He worked on oil rigs, moving huge steel pipes in rain and wind. The money was a little better, but the danger was way worse. Guys got crushed or burned bad. Clint stayed quiet, always showed up on time, and saved every dollar. He often skipped eating, not because he wanted to lose weight, but because he had to pay rent first. His hands looked way older than his face. In 1948, he ended up in Las Vegas and got a job as a doorman at the Sands Hotel. He stood there at 6'6", cool and calm, looking huge next to stars like Sinatra and Dean Martin. The casino was crazy busy every night. Clint handled all the wild stuff, keeping drunk people in line. One night, a Hollywood scout saw him. The face, the body, the vibe. They didn't care if he could act. They just asked if he wanted a chance. By 1950, when the Korean War started, Clint went back to the Merchant Marine. He was 23, moving supplies through dangerous water again. His ship got hit by huge typhoons and almost sank 2 times. One storm near Korea almost dragged them all under. That night made him think hard about what really mattered and what he wanted if he made it out alive. When he finally got home, he was done with danger. In 1954, A talent agent named Henry Wilson found him. Wilson was the same guy who made Rock Hudson famous. He loved tall guys with faces perfect for cameras, and Clint was exactly that. He brought Clint in for a screen test, gave him a Western script, and said, "Read it." Clint had zero acting experience. Didn't matter at all. His deep voice, huge body, and quiet power just worked. Wilson changed his name to Clint Walker and signed him up. In just days, Warner Brothers gave him a contract. In 1955, Clint moved to Los Angeles. They didn't put him on camera right away. First, they sent him to cowboy training school. It wasn't playtime. He spent hours on horses, learning how to fall, shoot, fight, and look real on screen. He trained with real stunt guys, got real bruises and cuts, and always got back up. He already knew how to handle heat and danger from that Texas factory. The oil rig in Long Beach, the ship off Korea. All of it got him ready. When Cheyenne started on September 20th, 1955, his whole life changed. His first episode, Mountain Fortress, had a snowy mountain fight that felt so real that 10 million people watched right away. Clint stood alone against bad guys, calm and tough. People had never seen a TV Western like this. The hour-long show felt like a movie, and Clint, huge, quiet, unstoppable, became the star. The show used stuff from his real life a lot. In The Northern Story in 1956, he played a scout going through wild rivers and rough land. They filmed in super cold Utah rivers, for real. Some actors got sick. Clint never complained. He had sailed freezing water before. He did all his own stunts, soaked and cold, and the camera caught something real. People at home felt it. Critics liked it, but the studio bosses messed up at first. They thought his super deep voice was too much for TV, so they used another guy's voice for the first 2 episodes. Fans hated it. They sent tons of angry letters. By the 3rd episode, The Dark Rider, they went back to Clint's real voice. Everyone noticed the difference right away. That voice became legendary, and the fans forcing the change was one of the first times viewers made a studio listen. In 1956, while filming The Border Patrol, a stuntman got thrown off a horse and hurt bad. Clint stopped everything. He walked off set and said no more filming until they got better safety stuff. Warner Brothers dragged their feet, but Clint wouldn't move. Finally, they gave in. Filming started again, but with way better rules. What Clint fought for changed how horse stunts were done everywhere. He didn't want fame for it. He just didn't want anyone else hurt. That same year, the show became part of Warner Brothers' new rotating format, with shows like Maverick. Fewer episodes each season, but they were bigger. In 1957's Duel at Sundown, Clint took on 3 gunmen in one long take. No cuts, no do-overs. He drew and shot perfect and finished in under 30 seconds. Fans lost their minds. After that, his pay went up to $1,500 an episode. Huge money back then. Over 7 seasons, Cheyenne had 108 episodes and broke records for Western shows. Clint Walker went from a poor kid in Illinois to a tough sailor to a factory guy with burned hands to the giant face of TV Westerns. Clint never needed a stunt double to make danger look real. In the Long Rope aired September 26, 1960. The heat was so bad, he passed out from being tired, but not before handling 200 running cattle alone in the Arizona desert. No tricks, no other guys standing in. You could see the sweat and dust, and it all felt 100% real, because it was. That one episode shot Cheyenne into the top 10 shows on ABC and kept it there. It wasn't just cool action. It was real. That realness sent Walker to the doctor, but it made TV Western history. 2 years later, leading up to the War Wagon finale, things stayed intense. In 1962, Walker filmed at night in freezing desert wind with Apache attack scenes that felt like real war. During one part, his horse threw him hard. He broke a rib when he hit the ground, but he kept filming and hid the pain. That real hurt made the episode feel raw, and fans never forgot it. It kept the ratings super high until the last episode. This show even used real injuries to make the story better. Gold Hill from 1959 wasn't about broken bones. It was about broken rules. Walker's Cheyenne fought bad guys, but also uncovered a dirty mining scam that was a lot like real worker strikes happening in Texas then. People weren't used to cowboys talking about unfair bosses and crooked sheriffs. But this episode felt real and made people mad in a good way. The writers did their homework. It wasn't made up. It stopped being just fun and became like a protest in cowboy clothes. Then came the lone gun in 1960. A big knife fight was supposed to happen, but they cut it from the script. So Walker just made it up on the spot. He cut ropes with a real knife in a moment so wild and real that the episode got nominated for an Emmy. No planned moves, just pure gut feeling. That quick thinking changed what TV fights could be. Critics loved it. People wouldn't stop talking about it. That rope wasn't just cut. It broke old TV rules. In 1961, Clint Walker appeared on Gunsmoke in The Man from Bod. It wasn't just a fun crossover. It meant 50 miles of real horseback riding through New Mexico desert. No fake backgrounds, no easy way out. That real effort made the episode huge. Ratings went crazy for both shows. It proved Cheyenne wasn't just following the Western trend, it was leading it. And Clint Walker wasn't just acting. He weeps as becoming a real legend. He brought that same fire to movies. In 1958, Fort Dobbs gave Walker a $500,000 chance at being a movie star. Warner Brothers didn't believe in him at first, but after he did every chase, stunt, and fight himself, he proved them wrong. He played Gar Davis, a guy on the run through tough Wyoming land, and the movie made over $2 million. For a low-budget Western, that was a big win. And Walker never hid behind stunt doubles, not with his 6'6" body and real toughness. 1 year later in Yellowstone Kelly, they pushed him even harder. The movie had a grizzly bear attack that wasn't totally fake. The bear was trained, but nobody could control it perfectly. A special fake claw ripped his shirt and actually scratched his arms. He never freaked out. The director wanted it to feel like real life or death, and Walker made it happen. Even the crew got scared, but they kept filming. It wasn't acting. It was straight-up surviving. But way before all that, back in 1956, Walker had a tiny part in the 10 Commandments. Nobody noticed him among 15,000 extras except the director, Cecil B. DeMille. DeMille saw him working out on the beach and gave him a small role as a Sardinian guard. Standing next to Charlton Heston for that one moment changed everything. Warner Brothers saw it and grabbed him fast. That tiny part launched Cheyenne. In 1966, Night of the Grizzly went even crazier. This wasn't a double fighting a fake bear. It was Clint wrestling a real 600-pound trained bear inside a cold Idaho cabin set for 12 takes, with real claw scratches left on him. Every second felt scary, because it really was. That night shoot and those marks turned a cheap movie into a cult favorite. It wasn't perfect. It was real. And better. Then, in 1967, Walker joined The Dirty Dozen. He played a tough sergeant, but while filming in England, a grenade went off wrong. It burned off his eyebrows and freaked everyone out. They stopped to check him, but Walker said, "Keep going," and finished the scene. The movie made $12 million and became one of the biggest war movies of the 60s. But behind the money was a guy who wouldn't quit, even when fire blew up in his face. On May 24, 1971, Clint Walker was skiing fast down Mammoth Mountain when he lost control and fell 400 feet down the icy hill. One of his ski poles stuck tip first in the snow. When his body hit it, the pole went 5 inches into his chest. It tore the sac around his heart and caused a deadly problem called cardiac tamponade. Blood squeezes the heart until it stops. He only had time to yell once before everything went black. His skin was turning blue when ski patrol got him on a sled. They rushed him 45 miles to a tiny hospital in Bishop where doctors couldn't find a pulse or blood pressure. They said he was dead. Then something weird happened. Another doctor walking by saw a super tiny movement in his chest. Just one weak breath. It was enough. They took him to the basement. There was no real operating room, no anesthesia, almost no tools. They cut him open right there. For the next 2.5 hours, Dr. David Sheldon and Dr. George Brown worked with their hands to take out the clotted blood and get his heart beating again. They weren't even sure it would work. He had been clinically dead for minutes, but his huge chest and crazy strength gave him a shot. They literally massaged his heart until it started. During that time, Clint said later, he wasn't in his body. He was floating above, watching the doctors. He felt totally peaceful, super clear-headed, more alive than ever. No fear, just calm. He felt like he suddenly understood secret things. Then he felt a gentle pull, not pain, but something important he still had to do. So he came back. 8 days later, Clint Walker walked out of the hospital on his own 2 feet. Not only alive, but no brain damage at all. He stayed 3 more days at UCLA Medical Center just to check, then went home. 2 months later, he was back on set, riding horses and doing stunts for Baker's Hawk. He had a scar with 20 stitches across his chest. Doctors said surviving that kind of injury in that little hospital was basically impossible. They called him a walking miracle. Fans from everywhere sent letters thanking him for telling his story about faith. He said it was faith and being thankful that pulled him through. But pain like that doesn't just disappear. Clint had already been through so much. In the 1960s, he looked tough on Cheyenne, but off camera, he was wearing himself out. He smoked 2 packs a day to deal with 16-hour filming days. It wrecked his lungs and voice. He had to stop sometimes just to catch his breath. Quitting made him shaky and nervous. He finally stopped for good. And he believed quitting smoking helped save his life later in the ski accident. Smoking wasn't his only fight. When Cheyenne ended in 1963, he got really down. He felt trapped as just the cowboy guy. Fame didn't fill the empty feeling. He thought hard about quitting Hollywood and moving to a quiet ranch in Montana. He wanted a simple life, but something always pulled him back, even when he didn't want it. In private letters and rare talks, he admitted alcohol became a big problem, especially after his divorces. The Vegas nights were rough. He drank whiskey every night. The city, the temptations, being alone, it all hit hard. His daughter Valerie later talked about how the drinking hurt the family. Clint looked strong outside, but inside, he was falling apart. By the mid-70s, he started getting better again. He didn't want to just be an empty shell of the guy on TV. And there were darker things hiding too. Hollywood had an ugly side that wasn't just gossip. The casting couch was real. Agent Henry Wilson offered roles for gross favors. Clint never said it happened to him, but he heard the stories. Wilson's power, what he did to G.Q. Whiz like Tab Hunter and Rock Hudson, it made Clint nervous. Working at the Sands Hotel put him right in the middle of it all. He stayed on guard. After the ski accident, he got more paranoid. He started therapy. He said he couldn't shake the feeling that Hollywood was always watching, waiting to use people. The accident opened his heart, but also left a wound that never totally healed. He worked hard on staying healthy in body and mind, but almost dying changed how he saw everything. Life, people, fame. Clint Walker wasn't just a TV cowboy. He was a guy who was declared dead, cut open with no anesthesia, brought back by hand, and went back to work like nothing happened. But everything had happened. Even though he didn't talk about it much, you could tell he was different after. Quieter, slower, still strong, but changed. Clint Walker was 21 when he married Verna Garver on September 5, 1948, in Illinois. It wasn't some fancy Hollywood wedding. It was simple and quiet, far from Vegas lights. He wasn't famous yet. He was just a tall, handsome guy with sea stories and a bouncer job, trying to figure out life after the war. Verna was the same age, born April 16, 1927, in Union County, Illinois. She grew up in a normal, close family with 3 sisters, and her family was worried they got serious so fast. But Clint told amazing stories about storms and surviving at sea that won Verna over. They got married quick because it felt right to both of them. Their daughter, Valerie Jean Walker, was born May 15, 1950. By then, Clint was trying to break into acting, jumping between jobs. Everything flipped in 1955 when he got the lead in Cheyenne. Suddenly, their life was totally different. Clint was away on long location shoots in Utah or Arizona. Instead of leaving Valerie in L.A., they kept her with them. In 1957, during outdoor filming, Clint taught Valerie school himself. That was super rare back then. Most star families left kids in L.A. with regular school. But Clint wanted Valerie safe from cameras and fake studio life. He wet, and at her normal and protected. By the time she was a teenager, Valerie was super independent and quiet. She didn't care about fame. She loved planes more than parties. Clint supported her 100%. In 1966, when she was only 16, Valerie started flying lessons. That was almost unheard of. Most girls weren't even pushed to learn stick shift, let alone fly alone. But Clint paid for it all. In 1968, Valerie flew a Cessna 150 solo at 18, just out of high school, already racking up hours. She took crop dusting jobs to earn money and got over 100 hours that first year. That same year, her parents quietly got divorced. The 1968 divorce stayed out of the news. No drama, no big fights, no interviews, just growing apart. Clint's long trips and fame created distance. Verna didn't take any money from him. She stayed on her own. Clint stayed close to Valerie. Their marriage lasted 20 years, but they still respected each other, and Valerie kept flying higher. By the early 70s, she was teaching people to fly. More than 50 students learned from her. From 1972 to 1975, Valerie worked for LAPD flying helicopters over Los Angeles. She wasn't just a pilot, she was one of the first women doing police air work. The job was tough. She flew low chasing bad guys and dealt with some guys who didn't want a woman there. But she earned respect on every flight. Hundreds of hours, dozens of lives saved. Then she went to Africa. In 1974, Valerie flew bush planes in Botswana and South Africa. She flew old DC-3s into tiny villages, landing on dirt strips with animals everywhere. One time, a whole herd of elephants blocked the runway, and she waited hours alone in the cockpit. Dust storms, engine trouble, times she had to think fast, or people would die. That time proved she wasn't just good. She was fearless. Coming back to the U.S. was another big win. On March 8, 1976, Valerie Walker became the first woman pilot hired by Western Airlines in her group. She flew huge DC-10s across the country. The airline world wasn't ready. Some guys mocked her, tested her, tried to make her quit. But she stayed cool. She didn't fight back with words. She just flew perfect. Her skill and calm forced everyone to respect her. She wasn't trying to be famous. She just loved flying. By the time she retired from Delta Airlines in 2005, she had over 20,000 hours in the air. She'd flown 727s, 737s, 757s, and 767s, but retiring didn't slow her down. After 9/11, she made self-defense training for flight crews called Unarmed. It mixed martial arts with plane safety moves. Valerie trained over 1,000 crew members. She never looked for spotlight. She saw a problem and fixed it. Again. At 75 in a 2025 interview, Valerie talked about how much her dad shaped her. Clint Walker survived that awful ski accident in 1971. A pole went right into his heart. He was dead for 2 hours until a doctor saw a tiny sign of life. He told Valerie about floating outside his body, something that shook him for years. Almost dying changed him forever. It changed her, too. She made emergency flying drills based on what he went through to help keep people alive. Clint's life wasn't easy. In the 1960s, drinking got bad. After super long days filming, he drank whiskey. Sometimes he disappeared for days. Valerie remembered the scary feeling waiting for him, not knowing if he'd be okay. There were blackouts, close calls, and one almost deadly car crash in 1967 that put him in the hospital. Friends and family helped quietly. Nothing hit the newspapers. Clint always made it to work, but it hurt him over time. He also smoked like crazy, almost 2 packs a day in the 50s and 60s. Producers never knew. He hid it, scared it would ruin his career. It wasn't until a bad lung scare in the 80s that he quit forever. That's when he started talking openly, telling people not to do what he did. Before Cheyenne, there was a note, her tough thing. In the early 50s, Clint got discovered by Henry Wilson, the same agent who made Rock Hudson and Tab Hunter stars. Wilson tried to turn him into a pretty boy star and even called him Jet Norman, but Clint hated it. He felt like the spotlight was fake and wrong. He felt used, like part of a dirty game that took advantage of young actors. He dropped Wilson quick, but the bad feeling stayed. Valerie said later her dad never fully got over feeling like a piece in someone else's plan. His second marriage was in 1974. Clint met Giselle Hennessy, called She, and married her super fast on May 26th. They were together 20 years. She wasn't in show business. She loved quiet life, supported him, and stayed away from cameras. When she died of cancer on January 1, 1994, at 65, it crushed Clint. He vanished from public for months, just grieving alone. In 1997, Clint married again. Susan Cavallari became his last wife. They got married March 7th in Grass Valley, California. Clint was totally open with her. On their honeymoon hikes, he told her everything about the 1971 accident, the scars, and how it changed him. Susan stayed with him through sickness, old age, and the quiet years when fame was gone. She never left him. Clint Walker died May 21, 2018, at age 90. It was congestive heart failure. Valerie told the press he died the same way he lived, with toughness. In his life, Clint was in more than 50 westerns. Cheyenne ran from 1955 to 1962 and made him who he was. He got honored after he passed at the 2025 Western Film Festival. His name is still on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.